Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Morning Tea where we sit in our sleepwear and discuss current events. Today's tea is Iced Earl Grey Tea by Ahmad Tea Company. It's a British tea company. I'm trying it out. It's okay. That's like the worst endorsement for a tea. I'm like, you should try it out. It isn't the greatest, but you try it out. Melanated. So now I have an update on the Ryan Lochte situation, which I know everybody has just been waiting with breath abated, bated breath, waiting for my reaction because there were so many different reactions to this Ryan Lochte situation. Okay, so the update about the Ryan Lochte situation. I was reading a couple different news sources that, and I don't know which, things aren't super crystal clear as to what exactly happened, but here are the things that we do know. Ryan Lochte and his fellow swimmers peed in the alley or peed in a small walkway at a gas station. Ryan tore down a sign, a poster or something, tore down a sign at that gas station. We do know that there were a security guard, maybe one or two, and they were having words back and forth with the swimmers. And we do know that a gun was taken out by the security guards. And we do know that money was exchanged. We do know that the swimmers gave the security guards money. Okay? So that's what we do know. Those are the things that everybody corroborates. Now, the things that we don't know is that their Brazilian officials are saying that Ryan vandalized the bathroom. We don't know that for sure because a reporter who was down there went and checked, and he's like, I didn't see the soap dispenser broken, and I didn't see a mirror broken, and I didn't see the door broken. But those things could have been fixed, especially because Ryan did give the security guard money. We also know that there was an interpreter or a citizen of Brazil who spoke both English and Portuguese who came and tried to de-escalate the situation because he showed up right when he saw that things were getting heated between the two parties. And so he basically came over and said that the security guards wanted money for the vandalism. They're like, you need to pay for what you damaged. And so then two of the swimmers, they went into their pocket, a $20 bill was handed over, and then $100 in Brazilian money was handed over. Ryan, when he told the story, said that he was robbed by two fake cops. And that isn't, or people pretending to be cops. So that puts a different sort of filter on the situation and makes it seem like they were totally just being taken advantage of when that's not the case. They were being belligerent and vandalized this gas station. So now Ryan is taking full responsibility for that lie, for that exaggeration, as he is saying, of the situation. There are people who feel like Brazil overreacted. Now, in the States, if a security guard were to ask somebody who vandalized a gas station for money, how do we know that the security guard is going to give the gas station owner that money? And there is speculation of whether that's those security guards or that security guard, I'm not sure if it was one or two, they were under off-duty cops who took security as a side gig to make extra money. But then the question is, by the Brazilian government as well, is why did they flash their badge? If they weren't on duty, why did they flash their badge? But it didn't happen the way Lochte said it happened. And that's where the big faux pas is. And he's lost his endorsement with Speedo. He's lost his endorsement with Ralph Lauren, which I don't even know if his endorsement for Ralph Lauren was for anything longer than just the games. But he still lost that. And there were statements made by both of those companies about the situation. And so he's definitely being penalized for his behavior. I do think that if you go to a foreign country as a guest, especially in something as big and international as the Olympics, you need to behave yourself. You need to conduct yourself in a manner that is worthy of your country. And many might say that he did behave himself in a manner that's worthy of his country because it's sometimes there are situations where Americans go to other countries and act a bloody fool. And so there's this stigma that follows Americans around when they go to countries that they just do whatever they want to do and not pay the consequences for it. And that's something that I'm scared as an American who travels around. Every country that I've ever been to, I have always been like with an escort. I have always I've always been with somebody who lives there, who is a native of that country, and that they can correct or tell me about anything that is different from the US. So when I've traveled to Belize, I travel with my family that is from Belize, and they also live in the States, so they can also say, hey, in Belize, things are done differently here. This is how we behave. In Belize, we say hi to everyone when walking down the street. Wahama, you need to say hi to everyone when you pass them on the street. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. Now I know that, so that I'm not seen as the rude American who's just walking around the town not speaking to anybody. You know, when I went to Guatemala and I was there, I went with my family, that's American, and I stayed with family, that's Guatemalan. And they told me, like, when you're walking on the street, you blah-de-blah-de-blah. So, like, when I visit London, I'm going to be with somebody who is a native Londoner. When I went to Japan, I was with my cousin who lives there and who said, okay, New York City train etiquette is this, and Japanese train etiquette is this. And so for me, that's really important, that I have someone there to tell me what the etiquette is so that I don't get in trouble and get locked up in somebody's prison. So that being said, Ryan Lochte had a responsibility, and he completely failed on that responsibility, and he lied about it, which is like terrible. He exaggerated, as he puts it, and it's terrible. And swimmers are getting their due. I did hear that one of the swimmers, and this source isn't reliable, but I'm just going to say it in case someone out there heard it. One of them, Fagan, paid $11,000. Like $11,000 to the city or something, just to be like, look, I'm sorry, here's money. Like, I'm sorry. And I'm like, $11,000 is excessive. Like, there's like 4 of them. Lochte's in the States, and like there's no charges pending so far. And then one of them just paid money, and then 2 of them there's no charges. Brazil has spent a lot of money to have the games in Rio. They have done a lot to their infrastructure specifically for these games, because it's like, there are ideas that Rio isn't safe, and that it is, it shouldn't have had the games there because there's high crime and poverty and all kinds of stuff. And so they spent a lot of money to try to get people to come to Rio to have these games. And they did a lot that they probably shouldn't have done because they don't have the money to really do it, but they did it anyway. So for Americans to come there and lie, and not only to vandalize and lie, it feels very disrespectful. So anyone who's like, oh well, if this had been here, it's overreaction. It's an overreaction, but like, let them overreact. Like, I feel like it's their right to do that. It's their right to overreact. We can't control how another country feels about foreign entity, specifically especially American foreign entity coming in there, being rude and belligerent, and then blaming the country and blaming their law enforcement for their rude, ridiculous behavior. How I feel about him handing over money, I'm a little skeptical about that, but I don't know what, maybe the security guard did give it to the gas station owner, and the gas station owner was able to put their sign back up. Like, maybe whatever. But I think if that was the case, Ryan shouldn't have even come back and said anything. They should have just been like, whatever. But they, probably were being like extra and adding dubs on it, and was like, we were robbed. And that could have been the story, that, Ryan Lochte got there and he vandalized whatever, but the security guard demanded money as opposed to calling the police, which would have been the right route to go, in my opinion. So just so that this whole entire morning tea isn't just about Ryan Lochte, that there was a bombing in Turkey, and it was at a wedding. And they're thinking that the bomber was like a 12 to 14-year-old. And so my heart and my prayers and my go out to the family of those victims. There's one woman who had 5 children, and 4 of her children died, and her husband is severely injured, and she only has 1 child left. Imagine going to a wedding, and imagine throwing a wedding and having 22 people, most of them being children, teenagers, were there. And so no one has claimed responsibility for this behavior, but it is abhorrent. No terrorist group has claimed responsibility, but it's abhorrent. At a wedding? So this is kind of something that I've been thinking about, and I have to really I've only seen snippets of it because my parents listen to MSNBC or watch MSNBC on loop, it's on all day. And sometimes when I hear Donald Trump talking about African Americans, it's like he's talking about us like we're immigrants who like just got here and are looking to make like a foothold in this country, and like, you know, that like he's good for the African American community because the rest of the government doesn't care about Black people, but he cares. And I'm just like, does he not know that like there are Black people who aren't poor? Like, does he not know that there's like he's like, oh, the Black middle class is thriving. I'm like, they've always been thriving. Like, there's always been a constituency of like Black people who are just middle class and like who've lived generation after generation of middle class. Yes, a lot happened in the 80s and it took a lot of those families down and crack hit and like went effing crazy. But like, there's still a lot of Black people who are like homeowners and like live in like, you know, 2-parent households and like aren't on welfare. It's like, I guess the media really does portray Black people as like being all in the projects and all being poor. And like, that's just not the case. Like, that's just not the case. There are a lot of Black people who are like doing well. It's not like it's like, oh, I'm good for the African American community. Like, what are you good? Like, I'm sorry, you and Ben, like, the only Black person you know is Ben Carson. So I don't know what you're talking about. All right, you guys, that's the end of this episode of Morning Tea. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please leave a comment down below. If you'd like to add to this discussion, that would be great. And remember, when you are leaving a comment, instead of calling out, try to call in. I'm gonna link that video up above so you guys know what I'm talking about. Have a fantastic day, you guys. Bye.